I left the Eagles game early that Sunday. First time in years. We were up by 10, the crowd roaring, beers cold, but I had a gut feeling. The kind of pressure behind your ribs that doesn't let you enjoy anything. So I tossed my half-finished hot dog in the trash, nodded to the guys, and hit the lot. The sun was just beginning to set by the time I pulled onto our street. That damn maple tree in the front yard was already dropping leaves across the lawn. It was mowed 2 days ago. As I slowed into the driveway, I spotted a car I didn't recognize. A beat-up Altima, tan with one of those cheesy, baby on board stickers on the back. I don't know why, but my stomach dropped. Maybe because Claire's friends all drive SUVs. Or maybe because something in me already knew. I parked and sat there for a second, engine idling, staring at the house I built piece by piece. Every paycheck, every overtime shift, every scraped knuckle. Right there in the bricks and mortar. I turned off the ignition and stepped out, the gravel crunching beneath my boots louder than it should have been. The front door was unlocked. That's what hit me first. Claire always locked it, even if she was just in the backyard. I pushed it open slowly. The air inside was thick, still, like the whole house was holding its breath. Then I heard it, a faint thump, a muffled laugh. I didn't yell, didn't stomp. I just walked, up the stairs, down the hall, and then I opened the bedroom door. There she was, naked, hair a mess, face flushed, and on top of her, some guy with a half-finished tribal tattoo on his back who looked like he belonged on a college campus. Not in my goddamn house. He saw me and bolted, stumbled right past, pants in hand, mumbling something that might have been, sorry. I didn't stop him, didn't touch him. He wasn't the target. Claire pulled the sheets over herself, like modesty suddenly mattered. I stood there in the doorway, arms crossed, jaw clenched so tight I thought my molars would crack. My pulse didn't spike. I wasn't shaking. I was cold. And then she said it. It was just sex. I love only you. That's how she said it. Calm, almost bored, like she was explaining why she forgot to buy eggs. I looked at her, really looked, at the woman I'd known for 12 years. The one I gave my loyalty to, no questions asked. And I saw it for what it was. She never expected to be caught. Never expected consequences. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I just said, "Get dressed. Brian. Now." She wrapped herself in the sheet and stood up, still trying to act like this was just a speed bump. Like I was going to forgive and forget. Like I was some spineless husband from a daytime soap. I walked downstairs, sat on the porch steps, listened to the leaves rustle. I don't know how long I sat there. Long enough for the sun to dip and the chill to set in. She came out 20 minutes later, fully dressed, face puffy from crying. She sat beside me without asking. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she whispered. I laughed. Couldn't help it. A low, bitter chuckle. "You tripped and fell onto him?" She didn't answer. And I realized something then. Whatever we had, whatever love we'd built brick by brick, Shed bulldozed it without a second thought. Just flattened it. For what? A sweaty afternoon with a guy whose name she probably didn't even know? "I need to know everything," I said finally, voice low. "All of it." She opened her mouth. I held up a hand. "Not now. Tomorrow. I want the whole damn truth. No sugar. No spin. If you lie again, I'll know." She nodded slowly. I stood. She didn't follow. I looked down at her and said, "Sleep in the guest room. Don't come near me." And then I walked inside, heart pounding like a war drum, knowing that whatever came next, I wasn't going to be the same man on the other side. Not after this. I didn't sleep that night. Just stared at the ceiling, arms folded behind my head, listening to the faint ticking of the wall clock. I could hear her moving around in the guest room, restless, pacing. Good. Let her feel it. Let the weight settle in. Morning came like a slap. Gray light, cold coffee, no appetite. I showered, shaved, got dressed like it was any other Monday. Except it wasn't. I wasn't the same man who left for the Eagles game the day before. That man had a wife he trusted. That man had blind spots. This version of me had clarity, and it was cutting through everything. She was already at the table when I walked into the kitchen. No makeup, pale, wrung out. She had a legal pad in front of her, half filled with messy handwriting. "You made a list?" I asked, flat. She flinched. I wanted to be honest. Like you asked. I pulled out a chair and sat across from her. No small talk. No pity. "Start talking." Claire swallowed hard and looked down at the paper. "It's been 3 years." My jaw locked, but I stayed quiet. 12 men, she said, voice cracking. "Some I saw once. Others, 4 longer." I didn't move, just stared at her, daring her to keep going. I told myself it was just physical, that it didn't mean anything. I thought I needed something I wasn't getting. "What exactly was that?" I asked. "Because we had sex. Regularly. We laughed. We went on vacation." "So what was missing, Claire?" She hesitated. "Be specific," I said coldly. Her lip trembled. "I don't know. Tension, maybe. Feeling wanted. Feeling excited." "Excited," I repeated. "So loyalty was just boring?" She reached across the table, but I pulled back like her touch burned. "I didn't stop loving you," she said, desperate now. "It was never about replacing you." "No," I said. "You just compartmentalized me. Husband for the holidays, boyfriend for Instagram, and your little stable of side pieces for everything else." She opened her mouth, but I kept going. "You looked me in the eye every day, slept in my bed, kissed me goodbye, and then what? Texted a guy to meet you behind a bar." "It wasn't like that." "It was exactly like that." The silence stretched. Only the hum of the fridge filled the space between us. "I need you to understand," she started. "No," I snapped. "You don't get to ask for understanding. You made a choice. Repeatedly. And I get it now, you didn't trip and fall into this. You dove in." Her eyes welled up. I was broken. I leaned forward, hands flat on the table. "You were selfish. Don't dress it up." Tears rolled down her cheeks, but I felt nothing. Not hate, no pity, just clarity, sharp and surgical. "I didn't mean to hurt you," she whispered. I stood up slowly. "But you did. And now you get to live in that truth." She looked up at me, eyes bloodshot. "What happens now?" I stared down at her, this woman who used to be my world, and felt the last piece of me harden into something unrecognizable. "I haven't decided yet," I said. "But you're not going to like it." Then I turned and walked out the door. I didn't slam it, didn't raise my voice. I just walked, because when a man's done being lied to, he doesn't need a scene. He needs a plan. 3 days after Claire's confession, I signed up for a dating app. Not the sleazy kind. Not the ones where people go looking for a quick lay. I picked the ones with bios, full names, jobs. I uploaded a photo me in a clean flannel shirt in front of my truck. No smiles. Just a man who'd had enough. I didn't lie in my profile. I told the truth. Married, but not really. Wife cheated. I'm not here for drama. I'm here because I refuse to keep bleeding for someone who broke the damn rules. The responses poured in. First, I just talked. Coffee dates, walks, nothing physical. I wasn't chasing revenge sex. I was reclaiming something. My dignity. My power. My options. Claire noticed by week 2. Noticed how I shaved more often. How I started dressing better when I left the house. How I didn't wait up for her anymore. Didn't ask where she was going or when she'd be back. "What are you doing?" she finally asked one night as I buttoned a clean shirt in front of the mirror. "Meeting someone for drinks," I said, casual as anything. Her eyes narrowed. "You're seeing someone?" I looked at her in the mirror. "I'm meeting people, like you did. That's not the same." "No," I said, turning to face her. "I'm being honest." She crossed her arms. "So now we're just doing this? Sleeping around?" I took my wallet from the dresser and met her gaze. "You rewrote the rules, Claire. I'm just playing with them." Jealousy oozed off her. It wasn't subtle. The same woman who told me sex didn't mean anything now looked ready to rip out someone's throat over a dinner date. I got home that night at midnight. She was still up, waiting on the couch, arms folded. "You're punishing me," she said. "No," I said, toeing off my boots. "I'm surviving," she scoffed. "By parading other women in my face?" I sat in the chair across from her. "I haven't brought anyone home, haven't slept with anyone yet, but I want you to sit with the feeling. Sit with the fact that I don't need you to breathe anymore." Her mouth opened, closed. No words came out. I leaned back. "This isn't about getting even. This is about balance. You tipped the scale. I'm just putting weight on the other side." That night, I slept like a rock for the first time in months. In the weeks that followed, I met 4 women worth talking to. One was a veteran's widow who made furniture in her garage. Another taught high school English and cussed like a sailor over drinks. They reminded me what respect felt like, what interest, real, unforced interest, looked like. I didn't lie to any of them, didn't promise anything I couldn't give, and none of them pushed. That alone was a kind of peace I hadn't known I was missing. Claire, meanwhile, spiraled. One night she knocked on my bedroom door crying, asking if we could talk. "I don't want to lose you," she said. "You lost me when you chose them. I miss you." "No," I said. "You miss control." She flinched, but I didn't let up. "You miss the comfort of knowing I'd always be here, no matter what you did. You miss having the upper hand." "I thought I could handle it," she whispered. "The affairs, keeping it separate. But I couldn't. I messed up. I know that now." I looked at her long and hard. "I'm not your safety net anymore, Claire. You're going to have to feel the fall." She cried herself to sleep on the couch that night. I didn't check on her, because survival isn't soft. It's sharp. It's choosing to feel nothing instead of everything. And I was done letting her feelings come first. She made a new contract when she opened the door to other men. Now she was learning what the fine print looked like. I brought the first woman home on a Thursday. Her name was Dana, a paramedic with a sarcastic streak and forearms like rebar. We didn't sleep together. We didn't need to. All I needed was her laugh echoing down the hallway while Claire pretended to read in the living room. The sound of a real woman, grounded and sharp, was louder than a fist through drywall. Claire didn't say a word that night, but she burned holes through me with her eyes. The next morning I made eggs, 2 plates. One for Dana, one for me. Claire walked in as Dana kissed my cheek and thanked me for the food. "That your girlfriend now?" she asked, the venom barely hidden. "Not sure yet," I replied without looking up. "But I enjoy her company." Claire scoffed, arms crossed over her chest. "You're being cruel." I looked at her dead on. "No, I'm being honest. For once in this house, someone is." She stormed out. I ate my breakfast in peace. From that point on, the war wasn't just emotional. It was psychological, subtle, deliberate, surgical. I stopped complimenting her appearance, stopped noticing her altogether. I praised strangers, waitresses, cashiers, women on TV, for things Claire used to fish for at home. If she wore something new, I didn't blink. But if Dana sent a photo in scrubs after a double shift, I texted back, "You make tired look powerful." Claire saw the messages. I made sure of it. Dinner turned into theater. I criticized the food lightly, precisely. "Needs more salt?" or "Chicken's dry again." The kind of remarks that aren't loud, but dig under the skin. She'd clench her jaw and fake a smile, but her eyes said it all. She thought I'd never push back, never take the gloves off. But now, every glance I gave another woman, every laugh I shared that didn't include her, it all chipped away at the throne she used to sit on. What she didn't know was that I'd already seen a lawyer. Name's Garrett Walker, Vietnam vet turned divorce attorney. No nonsense, old school, wore suspenders and carried a .45 in a desk drawer he never locked. We met over black coffee in a diner that hadn't changed since '82. He listened, took notes, asked one question, "You want peace or you want justice?" I said, "I want her to feel what I felt, and then some." Garrett nodded. "Then we get to work." By the time Claire caught on, most of the assets had already been shifted, quietly, legally, with the precision of a man planning not a breakup, but a takedown. I'd also gotten tested, full panel. Clean, thankfully. That came with a cruel irony. I'd been faithful, careful, loyal. She'd been reckless, and I still came out clean. That felt like a win. A quiet one, but a win just the same. I started putting money in a separate account. Changed beneficiaries on life insurance. Called in favors from buddies who worked in accounting, real estate, and banking. Claire didn't notice. She was too busy watching my every move, trying to read my face, begging without words. But I was done playing her game. One night, after I came home from drinks with Dana, Claire cornered me in the hallway. "I can't do this anymore," she said, voice tight. "I feel like a ghost in my own home." I shrugged. "That's how I felt for 3 years. You're not even trying," she whispered. I stepped in close enough to feel her breath shake. "I tried, Claire. I gave you everything. And you gave your body to a dozen strangers like it cost you nothing. Now you want effort." I leaned in further. "You don't get my effort anymore. You get the consequences." She turned away, tears on her cheeks. I walked past her like she wasn't even there, because once a man sees clearly, he can't unsee. And the man I used to be, the quiet, patient, loyal one, died in that bedroom doorway the day she said, "It was just sex." Claire finally broke one rainy Saturday morning. I was in the garage rewiring an old bench grinder, hands greasy, music low. She stepped in like she'd been rehearsing the speech for weeks. Hair pulled back, eyes glassy, voice calm like she was trying not to wake a sleeping bear. "I want a divorce," she said. I didn't look up. "Brian." Still no response. I just tightened a bolt, flicked the switch, and tested the motor. She cleared her throat. "We're both miserable. This isn't healthy. I think we need a clean break. For both of us." That got a laugh out of me, low and bitter. She wanted clean. After the mess she made, she thought she could call time, hand me a handshake, and walk off the field like it was a tide game. I wiped my hands with a rag and finally turned to face her. "You want a divorce?" I asked, voice even. "Fine. But it's not going to be clean. It's going to be fire and glass and razor wire." Her expression faltered. "Brian, come on." "No," I said, stepping closer. "You don't get to rewrite the ending after you've burned the middle chapters." She took a shaky breath. "This doesn't have to be ugly. It already is." I cut in. "You made it ugly the second you decided I was just a convenience. The man who paid the mortgage while you played tour guide to 12 different bedposts. I said I was sorry. And I said I don't give a damn." Silence. Heavy. Final. "You think I'm gonna make this easy?" I continued. "You think I'm gonna sign the papers, give you half, and watch you ride off into the sunset like some rebranded single queen?" She looked smaller than I'd ever seen her, like the weight of the moment was finally setting in. "You forget, Claire. I've got options too." I walked past her, reached into the filing cabinet, and pulled out the thick folder I'd been building for 3 months. "Garrett Walker, my attorney," I said, handing her a card. "Ex-Marine. Sees through bullshit faster than I do. He's got documentation, timestamps, bank records, photos, hell, even your burner email accounts. The ones you used for those little hotel meetups." Her face drained. "You dragged me through hell?" I said, voice cold as steel. "Now it's your turn." "I didn't mean to ruin everything. Intent doesn't matter. Impact does. And here's the impact. You don't get the house, you don't get the lake cabin, and you sure as hell don't get the satisfaction of walking out without a scar." "You'd ruin your own finances just to hurt me?" she asked, voice cracking. I stepped close. "I'd live in a damn tent before I let you walk away with what you didn't earn." She backed up, hit the doorframe. "I'll fight you," she said, almost whispering. "You'll lose," I said flatly, "because the court's going to see the texts, the receipts, the timeline. And when they do, your leverage disappears." She sank onto the workbench, hands shaking. "I thought we could be civil," she said, staring at the floor. "That ship sank the day I found him in our bed." I grabbed my coat off the hook. "I'm going out," I said. "When I get back, you'll either be gone, or you'll have called Garrett and scheduled mediation." "Brian." I paused at the door. I don't love you anymore, Claire. I don't even hate you. You're just a lesson now. A very expensive, very brutal lesson. Then I walked out. The rain hit my face like a baptism. And for the first time in months, I felt clean. The courtroom smelled like old books and desperation. Divorce court isn't dramatic like the movies. There's no slamming fists or shouted objections. Just paperwork, fluorescent lights, and voices too calm for the kind of war being waged. Claire sat on the other side of the aisle, hair done, makeup just enough to say, "I'm fine." But her hands were shaking. I noticed. I didn't care. I wore a charcoal gray suit, the same one I wore to my father's funeral. Appropriate, I thought. Another death today. The judge, a tired-looking man with gray hair and a voice like gravel, asked the usual questions. Assets, custody, no kids. Thank God for that. Debts, disclosures. Garrett sat beside me, cool as ever. Claire's lawyer, some fresh-faced divorce boutique type, looked like she still believed in fairy tale endings. She was in for a rough hour. Garrett laid everything out. Infidelity, documentation, the pattern of deception, the financial proof. He didn't raise his voice, didn't embellish, just facts. Cold, sharp, organized like a firing squad. Claire didn't say a word. When it was her turn to speak, her voice cracked on the first sentence. She tried to justify it. I was lost. We were disconnected. I made mistakes, but nobody bought it, especially not me. The judge ruled in our favor. He didn't even pause. Primary residence, me. Lake cabin, me. Cars split, but I kept the truck. Alimony, waived due to cause. She'd walk away with far less than she expected. And for the first time in this whole mess, Claire looked truly scared. As we stood to leave, she turned to me, right there in the hallway just outside the courtroom door. "You're really done, aren't you?" she asked, almost like she didn't believe it until the words left her mouth. I looked at her for a long moment. Not the woman I married. Not even the woman who lied to my face for 3 years. Just a stranger wearing a skin I used to recognize. "You mattered to me," I said. "That's what made it hurt." Her lip quivered. "Then why are you so cold?" "Because I gave you my warmth for 12 years. You didn't just waste it, you pissed on it. So now you get ice." Tears welled in her eyes. "Can't we at least try to talk again someday? Just as friends?" I shook my head slowly. "You don't stay friends with the person who stabbed you. You don't send them a birthday card. You don't grab coffee. You leave the knife where they dropped it and walk away." I stepped past her. No hug, no final glance. Just the sound of my boots on the marble tile, steady as a drumbeat. Each step was a reminder that I'd survived her. Outside, the fall air cut clean and cool against my face. I didn't smile, didn't cry. I just breathed deep for the first time in years. It wasn't closed. Not exactly, but it was final. And sometimes that's the best a man gets. After the court date, I didn't block her. I didn't rage on social media. Didn't throw her belongings on the lawn. I didn't yell, threaten, or gloat. I just went quiet. No messages, no calls, no reactions. She texted twice the week after the divorce. Once to ask if she could stop by to talk, and once to ask how I was doing. I didn't reply to either. Not because I didn't have words, but because she didn't deserve any more of mine. The silence did what my anger never could. It echoed. I heard from mutual friends that she wasn't handling it well. She looked thin, distracted, started calling in sick to work. Her mother, God bless that entitled woman, called me herself. "You're being cruel, Brian," she said over the phone. "She's suffering." I let the silence stretch just long enough to make her uncomfortable, then finally said, "You weren't worried about my suffering when she was sleeping with other men. She made mistakes." "No," I corrected. "She made choices, over and over. I'm just making mine now." She huffed and hung up. That call told me everything I needed to know. Claire wasn't sorry she hurt me. She was sorry I'd stopped playing the role of dependable, predictable Brian. The guy who forgave everything. The guy who kept the roof up even while it was burning over his head. I wasn't that man anymore. I stopped driving by places we used to go. I I stopped looking at old photos. Stopped listening to that damn playlist she made on our 5th anniversary. I took down the wedding picture from my office. Hung a landscape instead, Alaska, rugged mountains and ice. Cold, beautiful, untouched. Some nights I sat on the back deck with a bourbon in hand, just listening to the wind roll through the trees. No music, no distractions, just the sound of a man who'd endured hell and walked out without limping. One evening, I got home and found a box on the porch. Inside were letters, cards, a framed photo of us in Charleston, and a note in her handwriting that said, "I'm sorry for all of it." I closed the box and set it in the garage. I didn't toss it, didn't burn it either, just left it there, gathering dust like the memory of what we used to be. She tried again 2 weeks later. Showed up at my job site in a clean dress, makeup on, eyes wide like the old Claire, the one I fell in love with. I stepped out of the trailer office and saw her standing by the fence. I didn't walk over. I nodded to one of my crew. "Handle this." He did. Told her to leave. Told her I wasn't interested. She didn't cry, just stood there. I watched from the window. The defeat on her face wasn't theatrical. It was hollow. That was the last time I saw her in person. A few friends said I should forgive. Said holding on to the cold would rot me inside. But I wasn't holding on to anything. I'd let her go. She just hadn't let go of the man she expected to stay broken. The thing about silence is it doesn't beg, doesn't explain, don't try to convince. It just leaves people alone with themselves. And from what I heard, that was the worst place she could be. The letter came in a plain white envelope, no return address. I opened it in the garage while the coffee brewed. Her handwriting was still the same, loopy, overconfident, like she was sure the world would understand her if she just explained it nicely enough. "Brian, I don't know if you'll even read this, but I needed to try one last time. I was wrong. I know that now. I sabotaged the best thing in my life, and I lost the only man who ever truly loved me. I've been in therapy. I've been sober. I've been alone. And every day I think about what we had and how I destroyed it. If there's even a 1% chance, please let me say this to your face. Just one conversation. One chance to say goodbye the right way." I didn't plan to respond, but something about those last words, "the right way," stuck with me. Maybe it was the arrogance in assuming she still got to define closure. Or maybe it was because I needed to see her one last time. Not to reconnect, but to end it face to face, on my terms. So I told her to meet me at the courthouse. Neutral ground. Cold, gray, silent. Like us. She was already sitting on the bench when I arrived. Hair down. No makeup. She looked smaller. Not physically, spiritually. Like a balloon months after the party that had lost all its air. I sat beside her but didn't speak. She waited, fidgeted, then finally broke the silence. "I miss you," she whispered. I nodded, but not in agreement. Just acknowledgement. "I've thought about what you said, about how I turned love into convenience. And you're right. I used you. I took and took until there was nothing left to give. Still, I said nothing." She turned toward me, eyes glossy. "I was lost, and you were always steady. I didn't think I could lose that. I didn't think you'd ever become this." I finally met her eyes. "Become what?" "This cold," she said. "This is empty." "No," I replied. "I didn't become anything. You carved this out of me, with every lie, every betrayal, every time you smiled at me while planning the next one." She looked down at her hands. "I didn't know how far I'd fallen," she said, "until your silence started screaming." I stood up. She followed. "Brian, please. One more chance. I'm not who I was." "That's the problem," I said, flat and final. "Neither am I." She reached out, hand shaking. "I love you." "No, Claire. You remember loving me. That's not the same." She sobbed then. Real, body-shaking grief. And for the first time I felt nothing. Not satisfied. Not victory. Just peace. "You made me this way," I said quietly. "And now you have to live with that." I turned and walked out. I didn't look back. Not because it hurt, but because it didn't And when I stepped into the crisp afternoon air, it felt like leaving a graveyard. One where I wasn't buried, but reborn. The house I live in now sits on 2 acres, bordered by pine trees and silence. It's not flashy. It doesn't need to be. Just strong bones, clean lines, and a porch where I drink my coffee every morning while my son throws sticks to the dog and my daughter squeals when the wind catches her hair. Yeah, my kids. They came with the second marriage. Not a rebound. Not a rescue mission. Just 2 people who'd been through their own hell and decided to build something better with what they had left. My wife, Emily, doesn't pry about the past. She knows the broad strokes. Cheating, divorce, silence, rebirth. That's enough. She never tried to fix me, just stood beside me while I did the work myself. And that made all the difference. I never expected to get married again. I figured trust was a casualty I wouldn't recover from. But time's a strange thing. So is pain. You don't forget it. You just learn how to carry it without letting it cut you open again. Every now and then, I hear whispers. Claire checked into a hospital for a while. Depression. Some breakdown tied to everything she lost. I don't celebrate it. I don't mock it. I don't even really react. Because she wasn't just my wife. She was the storm that tore the roof off the life I thought I wanted, and forced me to rebuild one that could actually hold. There are days I still think about it. About the Eagles game. About the driveway. About walking in and seeing that cheap tattooed bastard bolting past me like a scared animal. But mostly, I think about what that moment gave me. Clarity. I'd spent years in a fog. Loving a woman who didn't love me the same way. Giving everything, asking little, assuming loyalty meant something to people who see it as optional. I'm not angry anymore. That's what people don't understand. They think the silence, the coldness, it's all bitterness. But bitterness is active. It chews. It gnaws. This is peace. The kind that comes from knowing you survived. That you didn't just crawl out of the wreckage, you rebuilt from it. Some people carry their scars like chains. I carry mine like armor.